Hi, I'm kchoi. Welcome back to my channel. Somehow, I think every other week, I get a mild cold. I kind of have a bit of scratchiness in my throat. I did use some Zicam, which is a lifesaver. If you haven't used it before, well, I'm not a pharmacist or doctor or anything, but it works for me. I think it has to be all of the traveling and exposure to a lot of germs on flights and at airports and all of that. But I'm taking it kind of easy today, but I do want to film a video and I'm gonna be doing a Q&A, as you can tell. I asked a few weeks ago on Instagram for some video ideas and that was really helpful, so thank you. And I'm working on a few of them, but it's just gonna take me a little bit to script things or film things over a period of time. So that's why I'm gonna be doing a Q&A with some of the questions that came up in that post. Before you ask, because I know some of you will, my glasses are from Warby Parker. They actually sponsored one of my videos a little bit ago. This particular video is not sponsored, but as part of that other sponsored video, I also got a free pair of glasses. So these are the Hawkins in polished gold, and I like them. Let me know what you think. I'll leave my Warby Parker referral link in the description box in case you're interested. But again, this video is not sponsored. And while you're there in the description box, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. I post videos about consulting, career, education, travel, and then other things aside from that. So if you're interested in any of that, then please hit subscribe. What is a typical day like in change management? I know this probably depends. First of all, I have a video all about change management, so I will link that in the description box if you haven't seen that yet for some more information. The type of change management consulting that I do is very people focused. So it's communication focused, it's about engaging people in a strategy. It's not so much coming up with the change strategy to begin with. So that's kind of one distinction to think about, and that's gonna change what the day-to-day is like depending on the type of change management you're doing. For me, I work on several projects at a time, which may also be different from some other big consultancies where people are on one project at a time and are going to the client site Monday through Thursday. For me, I'm on multiple projects at one time and I only travel at certain milestones in meetings. So through the course of a single project, some of the milestones are having a kickoff meeting, a design session or content gathering session, a prototype meeting where we have a draft of whatever deliverable it is that we're creating, whether it's a workshop or a film or something like that, that's going to help communicate the change to people in an organization. A focus group test where we actually put whatever we're creating for the client in front of a small portion of the end audience, and a final review and sign off of what we're creating. So those are the main milestones, most of which happen in person because they need to be a bit more hands-on when you're gathering content or designing an experience. In between those major milestones, there are also weekly calls that I have with the client and also with my internal team. So one day I might be with a client all day where we're collecting information and trying to understand the story of whatever change it is that they're going through. Another day I might be working at the office and actually building and writing content for, let's say, a workshop that we're creating. Other days I might end up having back-to-back phone calls because my 3 or 4 projects all happen to have a call on that day. So yes, you are right, it does depend, but hopefully that gives a little bit of an idea of what a single day could look like just by piecing together the different things that are involved in one project. And again, I'm usually working on a few at a time, so all those different timelines are overlapping with each other. What quantitative or data analysis work is involved in change management? I don't do a lot of data and quantitative analysis in my particular role. The company I work for does have an insights department, and that's a group of people who go out and do observations and collect data, make reports, so they do a lot more analysis. Again, I'm not usually helping clients come up with their actual change strategy, as in who they should go acquire or how they should restructure their organization. I'm really helping them communicate that effectively to the rest of the organization. So the things I do are more qualitative, and I actually end up doing a lot of writing in my role because let's say we're developing a workshop for people, we need to write all of the components that happen in that workshop, from if there's a workbook that people are working through, if there's some discussion questions at a table, if there's someone from the front of the room who's presenting something, we would kind of develop all of that. That's not to say I don't look at any data in my role, because often when companies are making a change, there is is a lot of data behind it to support the reason to make whatever change they're making. So I'm always looking at market and industry trends and company performance reports and all of that to help inform whatever it is that I'm creating. So there's still a level of quantitative analysis and understanding that's required in the type of consulting I do, but it's not necessarily the main focus. My foot is falling asleep so bad, it is numb. And that is gonna hurt. Where do you see consulting taking you? Are you interested in becoming an executive? I think for the first time, I'm finally in a job that I can see myself in long term, and I can see myself growing and finding my own kind of niche in. Before that, when I was working in PR, I was just kind of going through the motions and always looking for what would be coming up next. I kind of felt really restless. At the moment, I'm focusing on doing a really good job in my role and moving up when I can. In terms of if I'm interested in becoming an executive, that I don't know yet. I don't know if it's just me not having the confidence to say that I want to be an executive of a company, or if it's because I have this desire in the back of my mind of wanting to just be my own boss rather than an executive of an organization. So I'm just taking it day by day, trying to do a good job, and we will see where it goes from there. Is choosing a career based on potential earnings a bad thing? Simple answer, no. I don't think that doing things for money is inherently bad, because money and needing money is a reality that all of us face. I think it's more about the consequences of the job that you choose if it was just for money. Are you going to be super unhappy? Are you going to be putting strain on your relationships with your friends and your family? I think choosing a career based on earnings is, in its simplest form, a practical thing. It's obviously even better if you actually enjoy what you're doing and you happen to be able to make a lot of money doing it, then more power to you. I also don't think it's bad to choose a career without thinking about money at all, but again, it just depends on the consequences. Are you going to be able to survive or provide for people who are depending on you? There's just a balance of practicality and reality and passion that you need to think about, and if you could have both of those, then I think that is amazing. How do you stay motivated when you face many rejections? I wish I still had this. I think I used to have an Excel spreadsheet from senior year of college where I tracked all the jobs I applied to and the result of all those applications, many and most of which were no's. It's hard to deal with rejections in the moment, and it's more in hindsight when you can see and realize that all of those rejections led you to where you are today. There are obviously a lot of companies that I would have loved to have a chance to work at, and also a lot of schools that I, thought that I wanted to attend back when I was applying to college and to grad school. But all of those rejections only opened up other doors that maybe I wasn't thinking about, and that ended up being the right ones. Financing grad school. I actually have a video where I broke down how I saved $50,000 to go to grad school in London, so I will link that in the description box as well. How to stop being jealous and pressured of others' success. I don't know that I have an answer to this one, but I've been there and I still get there. I would say that personally, over time, other people start to matter less. Okay, not that other people matter less, but you start to care less about where other people are in relation to where you are. For me, college and the couple of years after college was when this was the worst. I had a lot of friends who were pre-med and on a track to becoming doctors, and then also friends who were business majors and got jobs as consultants and iBankers and all of that. And also friends who are engineers and were working at these really awesome tech companies in the Bay Area. So I definitely envied a lot of my friends and also just acquaintances who I would see on social media who were working for these big companies, getting these huge paychecks and living on their own, whereas I was working as a PR intern. I was living at home with my parents, which allowed me to save a lot of money and eventually go to grad school. So all good there, and not making a lot of money. I think something that really helped me change my perspective was there were a few times when some of my friends who were in those fields and in those jobs that I was so envious of, they would tell me that they were jealous of me, how it was so cool that I was kind of doing my own thing or pursuing a career in PR, and they would see events that I would go to and think that it was so fun compared to their jobs. Everyone feels like they're not doing enough and that everyone else is doing more. So when you realize that, it helps you to stop like looking to the side and seeing what other people are doing and really just focus on yourself. But don't get me wrong, I still scroll through social media. I see someone's post and wish I were living their life in that moment. It's just gotten better over time and with age. Tips on maximizing time in grad school, which is from my friend Judy, who's in business school right now. Hi Judy. I'm very proud of everything that I was able to do during my year in London in grad school, particularly when I think about my last semester, which was over the summer. And during that summer, we had to work on our dissertations, but I also had people visiting me and we were going on trips. My mom came and stayed with me for about the last month that I was in London. So I really had to plan ahead to make sure that I could enjoy those trips while also still doing a good job in school and getting a good grade. I had a planner that I used religiously throughout my entire year in grad school, but especially in that last summer. And I would schedule out like things by the hour, like how many hours I needed to spend on a certain chapter in my dissertation. Then I would have to go and work at my part-time job. Then I would need to schedule dinner because I wanted to see people and hang out with them before I left London. I had all these things that I wanted to do, and I wouldn't have been able to maximize that without planning it out. So that's what worked for me, was just planning things out diligently and planning things ahead. So again, I'm really happy with how I was able to balance both fun and travel with studying and writing my dissertation, and it was because I planned everything out. Book recommendations for people who love fiction. I have been doing very poorly with my Goodreads reading challenge. I challenged myself to read 25 books this year. I have read one. Oh no, I've read two. I've read two so far, so I'm just a little bit behind. The first one I read was a memoir, so not fiction. But the second one that I read was this book called Turbulence by David Saleh. As you can see, it's a very short book, which is lovely, and I finished this in, I think, a single afternoon. And this one is really fun because each chapter is from the perspective of a different person and they are connected to the chapter before them. Each chapter is also showing like the leg of a flight. So this one is London Gatwick to, I believe, Madrid. Then the next one is Madrid to, I forget what DSS is the airport code for. It was almost like reading short stories. Yes, there were connections throughout the novel, but it was more like some short stories, interesting characters that you actually get attached to even though you are only with them for such a short period of time in their chapter. So recommend this if you want something quick to read. From the books that I read last year, which I've talked about on this channel before, the ones that I loved the most were Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine and Little Fires Everywhere. So those would be a couple others that I would recommend if you are looking for a fiction book to pick up. That's it for this video. Whether you are looking to go into consulting, if you're just in college and thinking about what career you want to pursue, if you're in grad school, whatever the case, I hope some of the answers in this Q&A were helpful for you and just gave you some insight. A few ideas I have for videos in the future are more day and week in my life as a consultant vlogs, networking tips as a professional, presentation tips. So if you have other ideas, please leave them in the comments below because they really do help me out and inspire me. As always, thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next one. Bye!